All right, hello, lacrosse friends. We are just waiting as everyone drops into the meeting here at the Global Lacrosse Summit. I am Stephen Stamp. I'm very pleased that you can join us for this session with Mark Farthing, the head coach of Trent Lacrosse. And first, we're just going to give a quick thanks to our sponsors of the Global Lacrosse Summit who are helping to make everything possible. The PAR team, Bear Paw Lacrosse Events, Major Series Lacrosse, Uncommon Fit, Apex Lacrosse Events, Sticks and Picks podcast, and Manitoba Lacrosse. Farth, welcome to the Global Lacrosse Summit.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I mean, it's obviously exciting to get to come here and talk about Kufla and the league we have, and hopefully open some more eyes to it and show, what a great product that we have here that maybe doesn't always get the exposure it deserves given the quality of lacrosse that gets played here north of the border.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back a ways. First of all, full disclosure, I am the communications coordinator for Kufla, so I have a bit of a vested interest, but I'm also obviously an observer of all things lacrosse, and I have a pretty good sense of what this league does, which is in many ways, offer an opportunity to guys who may not have other opportunities for a variety of reasons, or have other opportunities and recognize that this is a good one. And it's always, I think, important to point out, we are not slamming the possibility of kids from Canada going south of the border. For some people, that's a great option, a great opportunity. For others, staying north is a better idea. And we have lots of US-based kids who come north as well. And right, Farth? I mean, it's a pretty big.
I think that's a great way to preface it. That when you're listening here this afternoon, that this isn't a plea that Kufla is the be-all, end-all, and the number one option. And we're not trying to pry anyone away from any different options, whether that be NCAA, or NAIA, schools out east in Canada, anything like that. Everyone kind of runs their own race and has their own path, and a different option it might be better for me and not as good for you. So it's just about being informed and kind of making the decision and finding the home that fits best for you.
Yeah. If you have questions, which we hope you will, and we certainly encourage you to share them, to ask them, go to the Q&A, and I will intersperse them with Mark's presentation as we go along. There'll probably be some time at the end for questions as well, but don't wait till the end. Feel free to jump in, especially because, as we were talking about just before we came on air, there are a lot of people who just don't really know very much about Kufla and the opportunities it presents and what's involved. And I mean, you go back to guys like Sean Williams, who's one of the legendary Kufla players, and there have been Steve Priolo. There have been great players in this league, and there continue to be. And honestly, I think the level of the league just continues to rise. The level of play, the level of organization. I think it's just getting better and better.
Yeah, and we'll get into that kind of the different little nicks and crannies that give Kufla an advantage in terms of team building and really putting a really nice product on the field.
So you have a presentation, Mark. Why don't you go ahead and start screen sharing, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here right now, and we'll get into it. So just waiting for it to load here. There we go. So so the Kufla stands for the Canadian University Field Lacrosse Association. That's what we're here talking about today. Some people might know a little about it. Some people might know a lot about it, and this is kind of for everybody. So feel free to ask questions. No question's a bad question, whether it's kind of a basic ground level question or an advanced question. Let's just talk some shop here. I'm happy to answer anything. So who am I? Well, my name's Mark Farthing. I'm the head coach of Trent University, one of the top teams in the league. That's kind of my claim to fame at the moment. Really, I'm a product of Peterborough, Ontario. For those that don't know, it's a huge hotbed for lacrosse, just in terms of our minor system, our junior teams. Our senior team has won the Mann Cup, the Canadian Championship, 3 years in a row. The NLL has Peterborough guys everywhere. Maybe the greatest player of all time, John Grant, is a Peterborough guy. Growing up in Peterborough, I was afforded just a lot of lacrosse opportunities. I learned the game at an outdoor park where a 20-year-old John Grant Jr. and Tracy Koleski were, part of a junior lacrosse team. They were just teaching camp, and it was cheap to go, and it was affordable for my family and a lot of my friends that were playing. And that's kind of how we learned the game in Peterborough and kind of came to love it. I was lucky enough to have my dad take me to junior and senior lacrosse games down at the Memorial Center. from when I was a young kid until, we still go and watch the games together now. So, I'm really just a product of my environment and have been lucky to be kind of immersed in that Peterborough lacrosse scene. As a player, I grew up playing in the Peterborough system. I played in the junior team, on the junior team in Peterborough. I had a great experience with a lot of my friends. I played in the Canadian Lacrosse League, where I was lucky enough to win the championship with the Durham Turf Dogs. I played in the Arena Lacrosse League, where I was lucky enough to win a championship with the Whitby Steelhawks. In terms of my senior lacrosse experience, I played with the Peterborough Lakers and was able to win 2 Million Cups there. So that was an extremely valuable experience. I played my university lacrosse at Brock University, which is another great team in this CUFLA league. And then I was able to play in the NLL, actually, funny enough, for one game for the Toronto Rock. I tore my ACL at the end of the game, which, just drove me further into coaching and, just finding different avenues to love the game, which is kind of where I am now. It's my 8th season at Trent. I started coaching there when I was 23 as an assistant coach with Jeff McKinley, who's a great mentor of mine. I was younger than some of the guys on the team at that point, but we made it work. It's a great group there. I have box experience as an assistant coach for the Junior Lakers in TAP. I've also coached with the minor system and an Evolve Elite club lacrosse as well. So that's kind of my lacrosse experience. I'm a lacrosse guy. Lacrosse is what I do. So that might seem a mouthful, but it's growing, and this is just kind of me. So
I'll interject just a touch there on these points that for not everyone who's watching may know Mark, because you didn't get a chance to play a lot of NLL games based primarily on a couple of knee injuries. It is kind of funny that you call it. I said, funnily enough, that you got the one game and blew your knee out. I thought it was. I felt really badly for you when it happened, but I was so happy that you got to play. You had a great game. You got the was it a belt or a hard hat or?
It's the Terry Sanderson Award that they gave out at the end of the game. So that was a nice token for sure. The Toronto Rock organization definitely did a good job of treating me right.
Yeah, and Mark has been. I've known Mark for many years and always thought he knows the game. He's a good player. I thought he evolved into a terrific player when you really, to me, the difference when you were in Durham and you focused on really being a shutdown defender. And you'd always played kind of a transition role. I thought you really focused on your own end and turned into one of the best defenders around. And that, I think, is what got you to the NLL. I think you've continued to play very well in the Arena League. The one thing I noticed with Mark, when I first you never know how a guy's going to take coaching, what it'll be like. I remember standing on the bench before a junior Lakers game that I was covering for the local newspaper, and you were talking to your defensive guys, and you had the same very easygoing, casual kind of demeanor. You're kind of hanging out, chatting with the guys. But then when there was something that needed to be done, or there was something you needed to let them know, the communication was so clear, so precise. I was just like, whoa, he's good at this. And I've seen that carry over into Trent and into all the coaching you've done. So I think you're one of the up and coming coaches in the sport. And I hope everyone gets a lot of people get a chance to enjoy this. So I think there's a lot for them to get from you.
Yeah, thanks, Stanford. I appreciate those kind words a lot. That was very nice of you to say.
We do have a question right off the bat.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry, from Jason Williams. Some of this is going to get. I know you're covering. I was saying he's always curious. In the States, they have fall ball, obviously, where they play the September-October season, kind of scrimmages almost before the major spring season. He's asking about when the CUFLA season goes, which starts beginning of September and winds up with the Begataway Cup in early November. But he's wondering what your off season looks like and the big differences between the U.S. college game and CUFLA. Do you want to address that now, or is that coming as we go?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do that right now. So here's the schedule, what I got planned. So the year as a player in CUFLA is kind of going to answer a lot of the points that you're trying to get to right now. So why don't we go to CUFLA, and I'll just kind of explain what the league is, and then we'll jump ahead to a year as a player, and that's just kind of a 12-month calendar as a Trent University lacrosse player, and kind of shows what those guys would be looking at. So to start, what is CUFLA? CUFLA is the Canadian University Field Lacrosse Association. It's a team league. We have 14 teams broken up into 2 different divisions. It's all done geographically just to make travel as least as possible. These aren't heavily funded programs. There's no flying. These are all bus trips, which actually turns into a great team building activity for our guys. So mostly it's based in Ontario. There are 2 Quebec schools who we compete against in our division. And the championship was actually hosted at McGill University in Quebec last year as well. It's a fall sport. It's all done, from September until November. So we have players that come to us and are just taking a semester, or they have 1 semester left or whatnot, and you only need to be enrolled for that fall semester to be able to compete as part of our team. The regular season's 10 games long. Everyone pretty well plays in it, everyone in a home-and-home setting. And then we get right into playoffs with the Piscataway Cup Final 6 tournament happening at the start of November. That's a webcast tournament which has been gaining more popularity year after year. Very tight games. We lost in the national championship this year by 3 after winning a triple overtime game the day before this year. So again, awesome tournament. I love this league. It's a great competition. The guys who play in this league, who a couple you'll hear from here in a couple minutes, love it as well. The competition is amazing. The rules that we use aren't the NCAA rules. They're almost identical to FIL rules. There's just a couple little tweaks. For example, we use 15-minute quarters instead of 20s and things like that, but almost identical to that international field game that you see.
And FIL, of course, now called World Lacrosse. And
right.
And World Lacrosse did go to the 15-minute quarters at the same time as we did at CUFLA. So
perfect.
Yeah, everything lines up quite smoothly.
Here to answer the question, and this should probably answer a couple more questions as well. This is just what a year as a player in CUFLA looks like. And every team's different, and every team's managed completely different, and kind of strives for different things for their players. So I just put forward what I know best, which is my team, and this is what we have going. So in August, we have our guys arrive to training camp last week of August. Our new guys that don't have a spot yet live on the couch with the older guys. The older guys on our team, once they're done at residence, they just pair off in groups and rent houses in the Peterborough area and just pay their share of the rent, and that's their place. So it ends up being pretty good. We have these little lacrosse house hubs all over Peterborough with a bunch of our guys living in them. So it's a really enjoyable experience for guys that way. And I mean, now you have your friends to eat with and live with. You have a ride to practice, things like that. So that all gets going right at the start of August. And then in September, our first year guys get moved into their residences and the regular season starts right away. So September, October is the big regular season months. That's where we get our 10 games in. And then our playoffs get started at the end of October. So to make it to the Piscataway Cup Final 6 tournament, you have to win a play-in game. And that is at the end of October. So it's good to get, a play-in game where you can host a home playoff game for someone who, potentially isn't hosting the Piscataway. So that's a big thing for our guys too, that home playoff game, or if we're not hosting and we're going to another school, just a great opportunity to compete. And then in November, that's when the Piscataway Cup is, and that's the end of our season. Our season's done in the first week or two of November every year. And then right along that line, we'll get into kind of, other developmental options while you're also choosing the CUFLA route. But Arena Lacrosse League and National Lacrosse League training camps are also getting started in November. So right as our season's ending, or kind of, at the same time it's ending, the NLL is getting started, which some of our guys are involved in. The ALL is starting to get its wheels turning, which we have a lot of players involved in. And then quite quickly, at the start of December, it's exam time, and that first semester of university is over. And then our guys will go to wherever they call home for the holidays. January, you arrive back. We have no formal CUFLA engagements in the second semester, so there's no scheduled anything. With that being said, and we'll get into more of this later, but we realized that Trent and any CUFLA school just isn't a destination to be on that CUFLA team and be on that roster, but also it's a destination just to develop as a lacrosse player as a whole, and a place to kind of call home and, kind of sharpen your edges in terms of, everything, field lacrosse, box lacrosse, becoming a man, whatever it might be. So we don't have a dead period here at Trent. We have the basketball gym twice a week. We have box lacrosse nets up at the school. Jackson Brown is a junior A goalie for the Toronto Beaches and also a goalie for our field lacrosse team. He has his box gear here, so he throws it on, or other guys for fun will put that box gear on, and we do run, pass, catch, shoot type stuff, and really just try to get our guys as good as we can for the upcoming season. When January is happening and, ALL's on, NLL's on, whether you're playing or not, guys are wanting to develop, whether it's for the season they're in, whether it's the upcoming summer season, whether it's the fall Trent season. So there's always really a big hunger to develop, and that's what we try to kind of provide our players with. For March and April, we continue for our box lax sessions, and then that's when the first semester of school finishes. So March, April, when that school is kind of winding down, that's when guys are starting to go to training camps for their junior lacrosse teams, whether they play junior A, junior B, whatnot, and summer lacrosse is starting. So it's kind of a 12-month calendar in terms of, lacrosse and opportunity. May to August they're not here. Most of our guys, unless they've found an opportunity on a Peterborough team, aren't living here. They go to wherever their summer box lax teams are. And, in August, they come back and we start the cycle again. They move back in and we start training camp. If we've been successful in developing our players through those January, February months, and we can get them on maybe a junior A team instead of a junior B team, or a senior A team instead of a senior B team, then that just adds into their development, and they show up a different player for us at the end of this cycle you're looking at in August. So that's really our goal, is to kind of use this not just to focus selfishly on ourselves at Trent and on the 2 months, but we realize, and other Kupla teams as well, that players are coming here because they want to play lacrosse. They want to develop as a lacrosse player. They want to play box lacrosse. They want to play field lacrosse. And coming to a Kupla school, those kind of options are readily available for you.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions have come up. One thing I would point out is, obviously, as Mark said, this is a little different for every school. I know Mark and his group have really worked to make it a full experience for the players, but we've got great committed coaches and organizers at all the schools that are really trying to build their programs. I mean, you see McGill is, has been doing things for a long time. Brock and Western have had a lot of players involved at high levels for a long time. Then you've got like Nipissing, which is kind of an up and comer and growing on the field side. And they've got, Scott Dominy, who had a great rookie year with the Rock this year, and other players from that. So there are a lot of players from around the league, not just at the schools that people are really familiar with or think of necessarily. We did have a question from Jason Woolley, a follow-up, is if there's a Canadian University Box League, and I can field that one. I know we've actually been working towards something like that. I've talked to other Kupla folks, and I've been dealing with folks from across the country. We are trying to get there's the MUFL, which is Maritime University Field Lacrosse League. We're hoping at some point to get a MUFL team to come and play some exhibition games at the Piscataway Cup and start to integrate the Eastern teams. It would be great. There are some teams out west there. The main reason there isn't a nationwide league is there just aren't enough schools that play field lacrosse.
With that being said, though, Stamper, while there's not a Canadian University Field Lacrosse League by that title, there is the Arena Lacrosse League. And the Arena Lacrosse League is a league that we had 13 of our Trent lacrosse players last season. Half of our roster played on the Arena Lacrosse League somewhere on some team. Yeah. So it wasn't called the Canadian University Box League, but that's extremely high level. For those of you that don't know, Arena Lacrosse League is second tier to the NLL. So it is a good opportunity for our, guys in Kupla to go and play on these ALL teams and have a complete winter box lacrosse season and still be involved, at a university level field lacrosse as well. How that works is the team that most of the guys in our Trent team play on is Whippy. We have a big text group. I'm there as well. And we just kind of get together and carpool up the road and make it work. And it's a great opportunity for all the guys. So for, potential players from the States, from Europe, wherever, again, this isn't just a come and play university of field lacrosse for 2 months in the fall. This is kind of opportunities galore for 12 months around the calendar.
Yeah, and honestly, as you're talking, I'm realizing that even though Jason clearly said, "Is there a Canadian University Box League?" I answered it about a field league, a national field league. So thanks for jumping in, Farthing, and noticing that that I completely
Yeah,
misread the question.
yeah,
Um,
no problems at all. So I'm just going to jump back to the front of the presentation here. So
yeah,
um,
while you do that,
I
we
have,
do have another question. Do you want to jump
yeah,
into
for
this
sure.
one? Yeah, so
Yeah,
Carson Coburn saying, can fourth-year players play pro while finishing up their last semester? Actually, players throughout CUFLA play pro. I mean, Latrell Harris has been playing professionally with the Rock since, I think since his first year at Brock.
yeah. So Latrell, I have his name on the tip of my tongue for later as well. But yeah, Latrell, obviously a very prominent player for the Toronto Rock. He's been playing since he started at Brock. In terms of the question that was asked, can a fourth-year player play professional lacrosse while finishing up the degree? Absolutely. And that's one of the keys that we'll get to in terms of building a successful team is in terms of eligibility. If you play pro field lacrosse, there's a rule in the Constitution that you need to take off a full year before you're eligible to play. But if you play NLL and it's considered professional box lacrosse, that does not waive you from being able to play in our league. So there's many players that sign contracts and play on those contracts in the NLL that also play in CUFLA at the same time.
All right, you go ahead.
So I have three major selling points I want to go over, and before I get back on the big lacrosse tangent, I just want to talk about the quality of the education. So the universities that we call home are top Canadian universities, and we're very lucky that our teams are stationed at highly respected Canadian universities. There's under 30 universities in Ontario. We have 16 teams in our league, or 14, 16 teams in our league, and they're all great places to call home. It doesn't matter which one of these schools you go to, you're going to get a degree at the end, whether you're in an undergraduate program, a graduate program that is recognized around the world, that's respected. These guys are coming out and getting good jobs. So this isn't just a place to come and, be on a lacrosse team and go to class in the meantime. These schools are great places to come up here and, get a great education. And not only is it a great education, but a huge piece that I don't think a lot of people realize is the price. The education is extremely affordable. And we have got NCAA transfers that have come back to us before graduating NCAA just because the international price to go there is so much higher than, getting a quality education at home while still playing really good lacrosse. So the numbers are there in the slides, but comparatively to some other options, it is fairly cheap. And with that being noted, we don't have the kind of scholarship, 12 and a half full scholarships or whatever the NCAA has to doll out, but we have a tiny bit of money. And on top of that, we do have lots of things that are intertwined through the school, like bursaries and general scholarships. I was saying Stanford just before we got on here that we have an incoming university student next year who anyone coming to Trent, if you have over 80%, that's an automatic $1,000 bursary. Over 85 is an automatic $1,500 bursary. So when you start working out the numbers, it's very affordable for people to come here and, again, get a quality education.
And the nice thing, too, when you talk about the quality education, it's very consistent. It's just the nature of the way universities are run, I think, in Canada. I think you're not going to generally get a really bad school, as they say. I mean, different schools have different strengths and weaknesses, different departments, different programs, but you're going to have pretty solid education in Canadian schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's just like choosing a school for lacrosse, choosing a school for the physical school is just as important. At Trent, we have 6,800 undergraduate students. It's a small community, small class sizes. It's a really kind of close to home feel. But some people don't like that and would rather go to a big, kind of booming metropolis university. And, a place like Western has 50 or 60,000 students. So, there's a different home for everyone. But like you said, there's a lot of quality options, and it's really hard to find a bad one school-wise.
As we skip ahead to the next one, we have had a question from one of our European viewers asking if there have been any European players in CUFLA. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't have a beard, so I can't rub it as I think.
There may have been some European players on some of the other teams. Us personally at Trent have not had a European player direct from Europe. With that being said, one of our long poles from this past season is about to go to Wales and play on one of Wales' teams just on a university exchange. So for people that are listening, those kind of options are definitely available. You only need to be enrolled for the fall to be eligible to play. So we haven't had a European player, but that might just be due to exposure where, more than anything else. So I think that, me here at Trent and other coaches as well would be more than happy if people are looking at classes and the lacrosse and they want to get involved, send the coach the email from the school that you're looking at, and I'm sure they'd be happy to not only have you or kind of get you involved, but also help you along the way. So reach out or open your mouth if you kind of want to get involved.
And I'll tell you, with lacrosse growing, I mean, there's lacrosse now in a few countries in Africa. It's growing in Asia. There are all kinds of opportunities. And I think Kufla would be wide open to having folks come play and attend school from basically anywhere that's interested in coming.
Yeah, so this will answer a lot of questions, this next slide. So a huge selling point is it's extremely high quality lacrosse that gets played here. And I think that is a huge undersell. When people kind of get their perception or original perception of what Kufla is. The two biggest things to know are the eligibility rules. So like we talked about, playing in the National Lacrosse League does not make you ineligible from playing in Kufla. The other big one to note is there's no limit on the amount of years that you can play. So if you're in a 4-year program and you graduate an undergraduate program, whether that be at Trent, at another Kufla school, at another Canadian university, at an NCAA school, European school, whatever, you can then come and do a graduate program and just keep playing. And after the graduate program, I mean, we've never had this happen, but if you want to kind of expand the situation, you could just keep signing up for undergraduate programs, and anyone that signed up can play. So kind of with those parameters, we're able to put together some pretty good lacrosse teams. Those two parameters opens the door to a lot of varied recruiting. So it's not just high school players that we're going after. We're looking forward to come and join us and kind of be a part of what we do. We're also looking for NCAA players who maybe are just coming home and aren't finishing their degree. We're looking for to that point, Adam Peroni played on our team last year. He's had experience in the NLL with the Rochester Nighthawks. He originally went D1 to Detroit Mercy. Just for whatever reason, wasn't happy with it. It just wasn't him. He found a home the next year at Trent, played 4 years with us. He just graduated. He was a great piece for us. We can get NCAA graduate transfers who have already graduated NCAA programs and then come back to play. So right now on our team, we have a player, Connor Laird, who played at Lindenwood, D2 in the States for 4 years. He was an honorable mention All-American there, graduated, great student, and now he's just taking a graduate program of nursing. So we've been able to obtain a high-level long pole, high-level person from Lindenwood for 3 years on our team. So that would be 7 years of eligibility. That doesn't work in the NCAA, but that's a go in Kufla. So, it seems like there'd be people kind of smirking at home or whatnot, but you need to understand that this is a great opportunity for these guys, and they're not coming to play lacrosse, they're coming to go to school, but the lacrosse side keeps them involved in school. So it's easier for a lot of these sports guys, lacrosse guys, to excel when they're involved in a team setting, when they have guys around, when they're going to practices together and stuff. So I
think another great example, Mark, if I can jump in for a second, is, a guy on your team that came in, Nick Tchaikovsky, who I would say is one of the great players in Kufla history. He's been just a dominant.
He was next on my list in terms of how you get guys. Not only NCAA transfers, but Kufla transfers. Nick went and had a great career at Nipissing University, put in 4 years, all Canadian, 3 years, had a great, great experience. He gets drafted to the New England Black Wolves, maybe wants to get a little bit closer to the airport, whatnot. And he decides that he's going to take his teacher's college at Trent. So now we got, he's going to his 5th year at Kufla, but, this past year he was the MVP of the league. And after he was done with us, he went and continued his season with New England Black Wolves, where, he's scoring, highlight reel goals in Saskatchewan and just having an unbelievable season. So these are the kind of guys that are throwing jerseys on for us.
And there are plenty of other schools too, right? Where, Jackson Rakosi was at Queens and then went to Western, one of the terrific face-off men in the league. And guys will go to, Western, Trent, the big draw, right, is the Teachers College is one of them. Western guys will do MBAs, Brock will do so. Different schools have different programs that really draw guys in.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just the mainstream programs like the CUFLA and the NCAAs that we're drawing from. Danny Mickle, who is a guy who plays on the left side for Rochester Nighthawks in the NLL right now, he was our captain for a while, a pillar of our program. And we got him from one of those MUFLL schools out east. He graduated out there. He played lacrosse out there. And he came back here and took some more classes here. So it's just really an option for anyone. We have a guy in our team, Riley Campbell. He was originally a draft pick of Rochester. He's a full-time paramedic in town. He's actually working the front lines right now. Kudos to him. But he works a full-time job, full-time hours throughout the week. He takes 3 courses at night just to kind of further a biology degree, and he's on our team. So if you want to make it work, we can make it work in terms of, putting a team together. So, yeah, just to take a look, on the slide there, we had 26 total players, and, 4 of them were NLL draft picks. Half of our guys are playing in the Arena Lacrosse League. We had 5 guys that had experience playing NCAA before. So it's just really a mixed bag of, putting everyone together rather than just having a whole bunch of classes of high school players that, graduate up together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the other thing is just it's a multidimensional lacrosse program. So, it's not just you go to the field twice a week for practice and play on the weekends. This is a serious lacrosse program, 4 or 5 days a week practicing. There's film breakdowns. There's strength conditioning coaches at these schools, off-season support in terms of, box lacrosse, trying to help with connections, get you on teams, set you up for teams with the summer, etc. So, there's a whole lot that goes into this to kind of make this thing go. Rather than me keep talking, this is Curtis Conley, who's going to talk for a second. Curtis just won the 2020 Defender of the Year award in CUFLA. He originally went to Everest Academy, which is a prep school in Canada that sends lots of players to the NCAA, etc. He chose the CUFLA route, and this is just him explain a little bit why.
I don't hear him, Mark. Do you hear sound?
Yeah, can you not hear him?
I can't hear him.
Can you hear us at all? It's off now, Stanford, but could you hear it at all?
I didn't hear anything.
Can you hear him talking at the moment?
No, and somebody actually went into the Q&A and said, yeah, there's no sound. Oh, I think, Mark, if you turn your mic off while he's on.
I have to turn my mic off. Okay, just give me 1 second. Thanks for the tip. I'm just trying to figure out how to turn my mic off here.
I think I can mute you there. Yeah, I'm still not hearing. I don't know if anybody else is getting the sound. Yeah, no.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know why that isn't working. I can hear it fine. This is how I was told to embed it in here, but essentially, I'll just go through the questions here. So the first question was, what were the available options coming out of high school? So Curtis had different options. He's obviously a really good player. He could have went to NCAA, had a couple different D2, D3 offers. He was in contact with Brock and Queens, which are two great Kufla programs, as well as Trent, and he just made the decision to come here. It was close to home, and maybe a nicer option for him in terms of being close to his place and not losing that edge in terms of playing at an elite level of lacrosse. And then next, we just asked him, how is the structure of Kufla assisted with his lacrosse development? And what he said is that it's just been huge for him in terms of, comparatively, if he would have went to the NCAA, that NCAA route negates you from playing any arena lacrosse league. You're not eligible, rules-wise, but you're also just not physically eligible because you're not physically there. It's an Ontario-based league. So he said that, being in 3 years of arena lacrosse league now, that's been huge for him, having that opportunity in terms of continuing to develop for field, but for box lacrosse as well. And then with the junior lacrosse seasons in Ontario starting early, March for some that are starting training camps, a lot of NCAA players aren't getting back to those junior lacrosse teams until 6-8 games into the season, where any players that are playing on Kufla teams are right there from day one training camp for their junior lacrosse teams, which is huge for their development as well. So that's what he was touching on in response to that question. And then in terms of his perceptions of Kufla then versus now, and I hate speaking on him here. I wish we could just listen to him talk, but what he had said was, he just didn't know a lot about it. And Everest comes and plays Trent in exhibition games. And when he came, he thought, oh my God, there's NLL players on the field. Like, this is extremely good lacrosse. And, we beat them. And they're talented too. But, for those kids that come and, there's always a lot of eyes on NCAA and for a lot of good reason. But, I think that when players finally see that Kufla lacrosse product, they're kind of like big eye opener to think, this is quality lacrosse out here. So really that's what he had put in there for that answer. Again, it's too bad that we can't hear him. We'll move right along to the high quality development route. So this is a lot based on what I was just talking about and was supposed to be a segue off what Curtis was referring to. The ability to develop through the Kufla lacrosse model is great. Again, it's not just to show up for a couple practices and play on the weekend. It's full training camp, practices, full schedule. There's strength and conditioning coaches and programs involved, film breakdown, there's scouts, the whole 9 yards. So we are trending towards, as much as we can competitively in terms of trying to win the ball game, following along kind of NCAAs or best trends or what have worked there. And then there's individual school nuances as well. So at Trent, we have box lacrosse nets in the storage room. If you want to pick those out and put it in a squash court and play wall ball for the day, you can. We have box practices. The Canadian Sport Institute of Ontario, which is a organization that works with an Olympic athletes. Our university has a partnership with them, so we get their specialists to come in and work with our athletes as well. So again, there's a lot to it, and this is serious business. We are trying to make these guys into the best men and the best lacrosse players that we can. And in a lot of instances, that's ending up being the NLL. And that leads right into the ability to just play more. You can go to the whole box tryouts for junior and things. You're eligible to play in the ALL. You're eligible to play in the NLL. So, Sanford, you were talking earlier, it's not just low-level players in the NLL. Like a guy like Latrell Harris is a prominent defender on the Toronto Rock. And a guy like Scott Domney had an amazing season for the Toronto Rock. And, those are two leaders on two Kufla teams. That's just another day playing Kufla. Like Latrell has Jeff Wittig, McNabb, like those guys are other NLL guys that are teammates. Those are 3 NLL guys just on one team, and they didn't even make the final. So, the talent level of what gets put on the field is crazy, and a huge eye opener for people that, don't really know the backstory. This was supposed to be another case study. This is Nick Finley, one of our grads. He is a current member of the Philadelphia Wings. this is actually a great video. Is a little bit longer than Curtis's. We asked him what is his Cooper lacrosse story. So to kind of give you Nick's background, he came from Ottawa, just from a public high school. He had a little bit of travel experience, was kind of, deciding where he was going to go. Somewhere close to home, Trent ended up being a good fit for him. So when he came to us, he was a junior B player. After his first year at Trent, he ended up staying in Peterborough and playing on our local junior A team. So that was a good opportunity for him. Got a little bit better, had another season of CUFLA, and then he was able to engage in the Arena Lacrosse League. Played in that, developed more, had another season of CUFLA, and then he gets drafted to the NLL. And all of a sudden, a guy a couple of years ago that came to us as an Ottawa public high school player playing junior B lacrosse is drafted as the Saskatchewan Rush and is on their practice roster.
Hey, Farth.
Yeah.
Let me just jump in for a sec. First of all, we will. I think if there are links to these, we'll share them. We'll send it around to everybody so that everyone can see it. Yeah, someone did say that it's because it's playing in your headphones, not on the computer. So if you turn off your headphones, that the sound might work. You want to give that a try and just see if we can hear it?
As I guess high school.
Voila.
I grew up playing box lacrosse, obviously.
Can you hear it?
Started playing field in high school.
Hold on, we're going back.
Okay.
Can you hear it from the horse's mouth?
So when I was coming out of school, we were lucky where we got to take part in a lot of different recruiting tournaments. I was exposed to a number of Division 1, 2, and 3 lacrosse coaches, as well as we got to scrimmage, the top Canadian universities. So I was really exposed to all kinds of different coaches. I was lucky enough to be, in contact with coaches from every level. But I just think, coming to my first game, my first ever game against a university was at Trent, and it was an exciting game. There was NLL players on the field who I'd never played against, grown men who really just opened my eyes to how good some lacrosse players are and how good the lacrosse is in my own backyard. Yeah, really, CUFLA sets it up perfectly for me to develop to my full potential as a lacrosse player. For the first 2 months when really no box is going on, they give you the opportunity to, play an elite level field lacrosse, which is important. It's a really good league, a lot of really good players. But then with the shortened season, 2 months, they tailor it for you to move into different leagues. I'm able to play for the Whitby Steelhawks of the Arena Lacrosse League, which runs through the winter, parallel to the NLL, which a lot of guys play in, and playing both at the same time. And then I'm right there for the start of my junior season. So to be there and get in the full 20 games, be there with my team the whole season, it's been a big improvement for my lacrosse career. Obviously, coming out of high school, the big thing is you want to go NCAA, you want to go Division 1, Division 2, Division 3 always, and then it's almost looked at like CUFLA is under that or below that, but that perception, as soon as I stepped on the field, is like my first practice, my first exhibition game. I remember going to Everest Academy out of Vaughan, and we would come down and play Trent. And that first Trent game, it was like, these people are so wrong right away. Like the skill level, the guys, there's some guys who play professional lacrosse who are in the league. So the skill level is so high, and people just don't recognize it. It's like a hidden gem.
So that's the end of Curtis's little spiel, and that was kind of the segue into what I was just talking about with the high-quality development model that really any CUFLA school is or kind of strives to be. That's actually Curtis in that picture as well, wheeling the ball up the field. And then, so here's Nick kind of talking about his experience as well with CUFLA.
As a high school kid, I grew up playing box lacrosse, obviously, so started playing field in high school. so had sort of a brief introduction to the whole recruiting aspect, and with thinking about trying to go south of the border and try and play in the NCAA somewhere. And I sort of hummed and hawed and didn't have a ton of experience with it, given I started late and whatever the case may be. I ended up applying and deciding to stay, closer to home, and ended up coming to Trent University, which didn't really know what exactly I was getting myself into. Had never seen a CUFLA game, or I knew, that being from Ottawa, I knew Carleton had a team, and Ottawa U was in the process of getting a team. And so I decided to stay, close enough to home, but came to Peterborough and played at Trent and showed up, my first day, and was pretty pleasantly surprised. I mean, if you've ever seen a game, or for those who haven't, it's still very competitive lacrosse. Guys are out there, doing everything they can for each other and try to win the game no matter what. And, you can argue, guys will argue whatever it is between the NCAA and CUFLA, but I had a fantastic experience, because of that. Connections that I made being in Peterborough, which is, obviously a hotbed for box lacrosse. I ended up, after my first year at Trent, I met Mark Farthing, who was involved with the local Peterborough Association. I tried out for the junior A team there and ended up getting a shot with them and playing a handful of games my first year. And then, for, I guess, my second, third year at Trent, I basically lived in Peterborough all year long and played on the CUFLA team during the school year, and then would stick around and played on the junior A Peterborough Lakers team for the summer, which, without that, I don't think I would have had nearly as much success as I have had to date in my lacrosse career. So that was, a huge bonus for me. I made lots of connections that way and learned from some greats in the game, being able to play in Peterborough. And then through that, there was other leagues, then there's the Arena Lacrosse League that started in the winter. So between CUFLA season in the fall and its competitiveness, and then going right into the Arena Lacrosse League season, which ran at the same time as the NLL season, so through the winter, getting to, again, learn from some experienced guys, and the opportunity to play, field and box just about all year round. And then into the MSL season, I got to play some games with the, Peterborough Lakers senior A team, and then on the Coburg Kodiaks team, and learn that way, and then eventually onto the NLL, and, into Saskatchewan, and now into Philly. And I think it's safe to say I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am now if I hadn't made the decision to come to Trent and play in the CUFLA. And I wouldn't change it now. I made lifelong friends, and we had some outstanding teams and some outstanding years. And I think it really sort of paid dividends to my lacrosse career after making that choice as a young man. And I'm glad that brought me to where I am today, and keep worked on my lacrosse career that way, and hopefully keep progressing through continue my NLL career now.
So the reason I asked Nick this was just because, he just went through how much he's playing. He's playing CUFLA, and then he's right into the Arena Lacrosse League, and he's getting drafted by the NLL, and he's playing junior and senior in the summer, etc. So, a question that I would have if I was a parent out there is just, how does school fit into this? Because the first, thing that we put in there was school is really important, right? So here you go.
I think a big part of it for me was, teammates and friends. They become one and the same, and, everyone's on the same schedule, and, between, guys like Danny Mickle and, like roommates over the years, Johnny Lynch, guys who are on the team, and guys who have also, gotten to higher levels and played, on these teams with me. Everyone's on the same schedule. Guys help each other out, whether it's, lacrosse side would be, carpool and guys driving here, doing this with each other, whatever it may be. And then the school side, for me personally, with those roommates, it was picking days to, all of us are getting up, going to the library today and doing this, or, all of us are, getting up, going to the bookstore today, getting all our stuff organized for the semester, whatever the case may be. I think that was a big part for me was, the connections that you make, between teammates and friends, and then coaching staff's always there to help you too. Like, you and Jeff McKinley at the time when he was still involved, were always there, always, one text, one email away from doing whatever you could to help a guy, whether it be schoolwork or personal life, whatever the case may be. I think it's, the resources available for you through the university and through the teams, is, lean on them while you can. I think is the biggest takeaway from that. They were incredibly helpful to me, and I know they're incredibly helpful to, anyone who's willing to use them. So that was the biggest part for me with balancing, the sport and school. And I guess that's kind of it.
All right, perfect. Yeah, no, that's great, bud. So I'll just.
So yeah,
Nice editing, Farth.
He's done really well for himself, and it's good to hear that someone like that's had such a good experience with all that lacrosse that we just talked about. And then again, like we talked about with the school, as soon as you ask, the first thing they say is their teammates. They get through it together, they study together, they carpool to the library together, they hang out together all the time. So they get it done together. So I'm pretty proud of those guys. It's not all roses, right? I've been speaking pretty highly of Kupla here. There are some shortcomings. And in that picture there, that's Latrell Harris on the right, plays for the Toronto Rock. On the left is Adam Peroni, played for the Rochester Nighthawks this year a little bit. So, that's just a little segment in a Kupla game of two pro guys going at it. The biggest thing you'd notice between Kupla and an NCAA school is the facilities just aren't going to be the same. It is what it is. We have a fully fitted gym, we have a turf field and a stadium, but that stadium doesn't fit 20,000 people. And, we don't have 5 strength and conditioning coaches. We have 1 for all of the different teams, and just things like that. So the facilities just generally won't be the same, although they are there and they're readily available. They're just not as abundant and as, extravagant as maybe some other options. And in reference to very top schools south of the border. The programs aren't fully funded. So there's different ways of funding Kupla teams. Some schools, and our school, we're lucky, helps out with some costs in terms of, maybe your school chips in with buses or hotels or helps you kind of however they can. No team's getting by without fundraising. So some of those teams, the fundraising model is just to get a lot of players on the roster and charge a high, team fee and kind of float the boat that way. Some teams do like an old-fashioned fundraising where, a team like us, we're having golf tournaments, baseball tournaments, just trying to bring cash through the door. So, and then, a lot of us are lucky that the families that are involved are, make donations and help out that way. So, we're all very lucky or gracious. It doesn't matter, how the team model is set up or how the teams run. There's somewhere at every spot kind of working hard to make it work. So there's no one recipe that makes it work. Every team kind of has their own recipe and is doing the best they can with the situation at their own school. Head coaches have other full-time jobs. So I'm a program manager at a company in Ontario here that runs government service contracts. So I have a full-time job. I rush as fast as I can to get to practice after work's done. Sometimes I might have to take a call on the side, a work call if I have to stay employed. We have a lot of teachers that have coached at Trent just because they get off at 3, so that makes them eligible for practices. It's hard for the coaches and not just at Trent, everywhere. It's not wake up at 9 and go sit in an office and start looking at film in the morning. It's work your full-time job, coach the lacrosse, try to do what you can at night. So everyone has staff working as hard as they can. It's just not the same structure of setup as, potentially other options. And then the other shortcoming we have is just little exposure. Not a lot of our schools are actively webcasting the games and things like that. So, it's hard to kind of spread larger than or a larger audience than those that can drive to the game. So it's too bad that we have such high quality lacrosse that's being played with maybe not the exposure that matches it. But, that's something that we're talking about in every conversation in terms of how can we get our league out here? How can we promote it more? So, being invited and involved in a situation and a summit like this is just an overall great opportunity for the entire league.
Yeah, and you can check we'd really love to get all the regular season games out, get much more visibility. We have been streaming the Piscataway Cup for quite a while now. I've actually done play-by-play for the last 7 or 8 of them. And
for the production of this production you guys have put on for those Piscataway Cups have been outstanding. If we could have that for all the games, I know it's not possible right now, but like it would be awesome. But yeah, the Piscataway Cup production that you guys have put on has been outstanding.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun lacrosse.
So
we have another question. You have another slide to jump to?
That was it. So I've already been over this at the start. So I just had a question slide at the end. So I mean, I'm happy to sit here as long as you guys want to talk shop. I'll answer whatever questions we have.
Yeah, we're trying to keep everything to kind of an hour or under. So another 4 webinars today. But Jason Woolley was asking, do the box guys pick up the nuances of the field game quickly? Because there are a lot of box first guys coming into the programs.
Yeah, so when I first started coaching 7-8 years ago, we played a lot more of a box style field lacrosse, and the experience that our players had coming in was a lot more box lacrosse geared, and we played that way. This past season, we're playing a lot more, and we're still playing a little bit, some box nuances in our field game, but it's a lot more of a recognizable style NCAA lacrosse, offense and defense that are getting installed now. A lot of our players have grown up playing on club teams. They've had experience with field lacrosse since they were, much younger. We have guys coming out of, prep schools and things. So typically the experience, at least on our team, it would be different for every team, but it's fairly more experienced field guys coming in now than we had previously. So it used to be harder for them to pick it up, and some box guys, we just plant them in front of the net and dump the ball into them because that's what they did. But now guys pretty well have their field lacrosse tool belt figured out at least a little bit before they get there.
Yeah, some guys. I mean, I remember watching Dan Craig, who was a Barrie kid, playing junior box, and went to the All Canada games that the Edge and Brody Merrill put on in Oshawa, and he'd never played field lacrosse. He was wearing his box helmet. He goes and he plays, and his natural talent kind of got him through the early stages. He wound up going to Penn State. Penn State had a great career, but there are challenges when you haven't played the field game and aren't familiar with it. But a lot of the times you do see the guys kind of relying on their box skills to get the rudimentary elements down, and then you see the development through their time in Kufla or the other schools, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And the box skills are a lot of our players' tickets in the field game. It's those skills that they learned or adapted through box that make them so effective in field. So it's definitely growing and trending to more the field game in Ontario, where when I was young, I'm 30 years old now. When I was young, we didn't even play field lacrosse at all until maybe I was 10 or 11. That's when we started playing. And at that point, we just put all our box lacrosse gear on, put on our box lacrosse hockey helmet, and just went out and basically played box lacrosse on the field pitch. So it's certainly come a long way in Ontario since then.
Do you see a big shift? I mean, Jason was asking right at the beginning about the differences between the lacrosse in the NCAA and Kufla. I've got my opinions. I feel like there is a substantial difference. I feel like the Kufla is a bit of a faster game, whereas the NCAA tends to be a bit more precise in their systems and things, which you can have your preferences. I like the action up north. Yeah,
for sure. And you got to play to your skills as well. I mean, we like to run and gun, and a lot of Kufla teams like to run and gun because that's what they're good at. They have players that grew up playing box lacrosse. They have great stick skills. They can catch and finish on the run. And, if you get an odd man situation, it's time to roll, rather than relying on athleticism to dodge and create slides and kind of create offense that way.
Any other questions from anyone that we've got? Basically, we should wrap up pretty soon, but if there's anything left.
Yeah, and I mean, if you guys have questions that you know, you want to ask that you think of in 2 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, I wanted to put my email and things there, and you can catch us on Instagram as well. We want to call on any collaboration. If coaches want to get on and just, you know, talk X's and O's and kind of, you know, lend each other knowledge and figure stuff out from our Kufla game to whatever game you're adapted to, we'd be happy to do that. If, you know, you're sitting at home and thinking, hey, maybe, you know, a couple semesters in Canada is a good option for me, Kufla teams would love to talk to you. So we just want to open that collaboration and kind of, you know, give our league some exposure, not just Trent, but all the teams, and kind of, you know, put ourselves out there and bring on collaboration and, you know, see how we can expand and grow ourselves outside of what we're currently operating with.
The one other question coming up, asking about the in-season practice schedule. You touched on it earlier, saying it was kind of 4 or 5 days a week, but what is the schedule exactly?
So I before I came on, I want to be careful about giving away any of our trade secrets because we've been able to build a pretty sturdy program. But what we do at Trent for practice is we play almost every weekend. Typically Saturday, Sunday are the games. So with that, if we play Saturday, Sunday, usually our Mondays are an open practice. So what an open practice is I just show up with all the balls, make sure there's a goalie there. We have goalies in the community that'll come out and play if, you know, our goalies aren't feeling it for that night. We want to give that open practice. There's no structure. It's not mandatory that you be there. Some guys will come with a hoodie and headphones on and take shots at a net in the corner to work on their game. Some guys come with equipment and come up to me and want to be coached. Some guys are, you know, doing one-on-ones in the corners, face-offs, conditioning. It's just our field. We have tunes on, and, you know, we're developing at our own pace. But if you're a guy that didn't play a lot on the weekend and a younger guy, you don't have a lot of schoolwork and you want to get out and grind, that's a great option for you. But if you're a guy that, you know, is dead tired from the weekend and needs a day off and maybe has a ton of schoolwork and whatever, it's nice to kind of have that option and that opportunity to take that day off if you need it, you know, without the coach coming and knocking your door down. And then Tuesday, Wednesday are our main practices. That's when we get all our work done pretty well. Thursday's a day off. We got to give them a day off. This isn't a boot camp. And then Friday is a game ready practice. You know, we kind of just go through all the aspects of the game, 6v6, rides, clears, man up, man down, face off, the whole 9 yards, make sure that we're all on the same page. And then we play on the weekend. And, you know, when that's over, we're a little battered and bruised from the week. And it's a slow Monday with the open practice, and we're right back into the swing of things. So that schedule just turns over and over, September, October, until we, you know, hopefully get to that national championship in November.
Perfect. We're just past the hour, and no more questions waiting right now. So, Farth, thanks so much. Always great to get together and chat chat lacrosse. And I know we're both big proponents of Kufla. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on and be part of the Global Lacrosse Summit.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks so much for having me on. Sorry to the other Kufla teams. Obviously, this is through a big-time Trent University lens. But it is what it is. You know, this is a great league that we have. It was awesome that I got to come on here and, you know, put a whole bunch of eyes before it. You know, I hope that there's people going on our Instagram right now and seeing what we're about and, you know, checking out the league. And, you know, it's exciting. Lacrosse is a growing game, and we're excited to be kind of entangled in that web and doing our part.
Yeah, as Mark said, 14 teams in Kufla. So I would, you know, get in touch with whoever you think might work for you. Trent is a great option. There are, you know, 13 other great options in the league as well. Thanks so much, Mark. Thanks everyone for being with us, and we're going to wrap things up there. Plenty more to come. So sign up for more sessions, and hope you continue to enjoy the Global Lacrosse Summit.